والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. So we began yesterday speaking regarding the issue of al-wala wal-bara, and that is the affair of love and affinity and allegiance or association with the believers, and likewise that of al-bara or disassociation, enmity, uh, and disavowal for the disbelievers. And after all of this, that which we mentioned yesterday, Sheikh Salih Fawzani mentions فهذه المسألة تتعلق بعداوة الكفار وعدم موالاتهم. That this issue is connected to that of al-adawa, that of enmity and disassociation and the likes for the disbelievers, and not having allegiance with them, Now, وهي لا تقتضي أننا نقاطع الكفار في الأمور ومنافع الدنيوية. However, this speech that is proceeded up to this point, it does not necessitate that we totally cut off the kuffar in affairs and beneficial dunyawi or worldly matters. Rather, yustathna min dhalika umurun. Rather, what is the exception to that general rule are things like what follows. Firstly, أنه مع بغضنا لهم وعداوتنا لهم يجب أن ندعوهم إلى الله. That along with our hatred for them, that it is a hatred that is for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. It is not just for the sake of who they are as individuals. Because as the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was asked who was the best of the people, he said, the best of you prior to Islam is the best of you within Islam. Meaning that a person may have character that is it is somewhat good. You have a good character, and he's not a non-Muslim. Maybe he's truthful in certain regards. Maybe he is honest in his business dealings. Maybe he's well-mannered and the likes of this, but he's a non-Muslim. And then he brings that into al-Islam. He becomes Muslim, and thus those goodly characteristics that he had is accentuated by way of his Islam, or her Islam. Now, and so our dislike for them and hatred for them and disavowal of them is not for who they are as individuals, because perhaps they have some good qualities as individuals, but it is for their religion, it's for their deen, for their association and partners with Allah Azza wa Jal, for their disbelief in Him and their rejection of His Messenger alayhi salam. Because if they were to embrace Islam and leave all of that off, then our hatred would immediately turn to love. For the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, and so we still call them to Allah Azza wa Jal. In spite of the fact that we dislike them or we hate them, we have enmity for them, it is still incumbent upon us, obligatory upon us, that we call them to Allah Azza wa Jal, that we call them to the religion. يجب أن ندعوهم إلى الله ولا نتركهم ونقول هؤلاء أعداء الله وأعداؤنا. So we must call them to Allah Azza wa Jal, and we don't simply leave them on the basis of our statement that they are Allah's enemies and our enemies, so therefore we leave them. We don't want Islam for them. We don't want them to come to the religion because they are our enemies. No. يجب علينا أن ندعوهم إلى الله لعل الله يهديهم. Rather, it is incumbent upon us to call them to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, because perhaps Allah will guide them. فإن لم يستجيبوا فإنا نقاتلهم مع القدرة. And if they don't respond to that da'wah, if they don't respond to that call, then we fight against them if we have the ability to do so. They are from the categories of people who it is permissible for us to fight against. Now, and this was the Prophet's way, alayhi sallam, and his companions in their military expeditions, that they would precede the jihad in the path of Allah with da'wah, with calling the people to al-Islam. And if they rejected that, okay, you are deserving of that which people like you are deserving of. Now, especially during that time we're in, this is that which was the formative period of al-Islam during those days. Now, he says, فَإِمَّا أَنْ يَدْخُلُوا فِي الْإِسْلَامِ. So either they will enter into al-Islam, وَإِمَّا أَنْ يَبْدِلُوا الْجِزْيَةِ, or perhaps they will pay the jizya once they are conquered by the Muslims, and they are the non-Muslims who are living under Muslim rule, then they pay that tax called al-jizya. نعم إن كانوا من اليهود والنصارى أو المجوس, if they are Jews, Christians, or Magians, وهم صاغرون, and they, in this case, they are صاغرون, they have been subdued, ويخضعون لحكم الإسلام, and they yield and submit to the ruling of Al-Islam. ويتركون على ويتركون على ما هم عليه. In this case, they are left upon what they are upon, meaning their deen, and they pay the jizya. لكن بشرط دفع الجزية, with the condition, meaning we leave them upon their way, upon their religion, with the condition that they pay the jizya. وخضوعهم لحكم الإسلام, and they yield and submit to the ruling of Al-Islam. أما إن كانوا غير كتابيين, but if they are other than the people of the book, they're not people of the book, rather they are pagans, and they're not Majus, not Magians, ففي أخذ الجزية منهم خلاف بين العلماء. The scholars differ regarding this idol worshippers and pagans and the likes of this in terms of acceptance of the jizya from them. Some scholars say that it is permissible to accept the jizya from them. Some say that nothing is accepted from them except fighting in the path of Allah Azza wa Jal. The second exception to that general rule of adawa for the kuffar, لا مانع من mahadana al-kuffar and al-haja. There is no harm in having treaties, a peace treaty with the kuffar if there is a need for that. There's no harm in having a peace treaty with the kuffar if there's a need for that. إذا احتاج المسلمون لمحادنتهم. If the Muslims are in need of having a treaty with them, لكون المسلمين لا يقدرون على قتالهم. An example of the Muslims having a need is that they don't have the ability in that particular time frame to fight against them. Maybe the Muslims are in a weaker military position and the likes of this, and they don't have the ability to fight against the kuffar. Then it may be to the advantage of Islam and the Muslims to have a treaty with them. Now, in the Messenger of Allah alayhi salam had treaties with the kuffar, and this proved to be beneficial for the Muslims. During that time, those times of peace, there was not fighting going on, so they were able to give dawah, they were able to call and build the numbers of the Muslims. The next thing you know, came the conquest of Mecca. After that came the conquest of Mecca. Now, and so there may be a benefit in having a treaty with the kuffar. It gives the Muslims time to rebuild and to focus upon dawah efforts and the likes of this, and the people entering into Al-Islam, and so on and so forth. يُخْشَى عَلَى الْمُسْلِمِينَ مِنْ شَرِّهِمْ. And during this period and this state wherein the Muslims may not have the ability to fight, then it may be feared for the Muslims due to the evil of the kuffar. ولا بأس بالمحادنة إلى أن يقوى المسلمون على قتالهم. And so therefore there's no harm in having peace treaties with the kuffar, not up until the time wherein the Muslims are strengthened and able to fight against them. أو إذا طلبوهم المهادنة, or if the kuffar themselves seek terms of peace and seek a peace agreement and a treaty with the Muslims. نعم وإن جنحوا للسلم فاجنح لها, and if they request terms of peace, then give them peace. Now, so therefore they themselves are seeking to have a treaty with the Muslims, and so the Muslims can accept that if it is beneficial for the Muslims. لكن ليس حدنا دائما, but it is not something which is perpetual, it is forever. It is not something which is forever. Rather, there are terms, there are time frames, there are expiration dates and the likes of this on that treaty. It's from this time up until that time. Now, he says that إنما حدنا مؤقتا, rather it is something which is for a particular time frame up until the Imam of the Muslims sees fit, the leader of the Muslims, he sees fit to call off those terms of peace. It may due to a benefit for the Muslims. Now, the third exception to this general rule, لا مانع من مكافأتهم على الإحسان إذا أحسنوا للمسلمين. There is no harm in recompensing them for goodness if they are good to the Muslims. You may have some non-Muslims that display acts of kindness and goodness to the Muslims. And so therefore there's no harm in repaying their acts of kindness and goodness with goodness the like thereof. Now, someone is good to you, what you going to do? Be harsh and mean to them and bad to them? No, if they are good to the Muslims, then you can recompense their goodness with the goodness the like thereof. Now, he says, لا مانع أن يكافئوا على إحسانهم. So there's no harm in them receiving good in exchange for their good. قال الله تعالى, as Allah Ta'ala says, لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم. There's no Allah does not prohibit you from being good to those who do not fight against you on the account of your religion, nor did they expel you from your homes. أن أن تبرهم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم, that you are good to them and that you are just and equitable with them. إن الله يحب المقسطين. Indeed, Allah loves the equitable. So if someone is good to you, then you're good to them back, whether they are Muslim or they are non-Muslim. Fourthly, رابعا الوالد الكافر يجب على ولده مسلم أن يبره, that the non-Muslim parent, then it is obligatory upon upon their Muslim child to be good to them. It's obligatory upon the Muslim child to be good to them. This is the fourth. نعم لكنه لا يطيعه في الكفر. However, the child is not to obey their parent in disbelief. I mean, if the parent commands you with kufr, leave that Islam stuff alone. Leave it off. Go back to the religion you were raised upon. We raised you to be a Christian. We raised you in the church. You know better than that. You don't obey them in this. You don't obey them in anything like this. As Allah Ta'ala said inside of his book, وَصَيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَحْنًا عَلَى وَحْنٍ وَفِصَالَهُ فِي عَامَيْنِ. He said, Allah Ta'ala, we command the person as it relates to his parents to be good and kind to them. His mother carried him in weakness and hardship upon weakness and hardship, and his weaning took place in the period of 2 years. Anashkurli wali walidayk ilayya al-masir, that you are that you should be thankful to me, and likewise to your parents, for to me is your return. When jahadaka ala an tushrika bi ma laysa laka bihi ilm fala tuti'huma. But if they are making a jihad against you, if your parents are struggling against you and fighting against you, not physically, but they may exert efforts against you to make you associate partners with me, that which you have no knowledge of, then don't obey them in that. وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا. But be to them in the dunya a goodly companion. Look, in spite of the fact that the parent is taking these efforts and steps against you to make you leave the religion, just don't obey them in that part, but still be good to them. Still be good to them and kind to them and the likes. Now, وَاتَّبِعْ سَبِيلَ مَنْ أَنَابَ إِلَيْهِ, and follow the path of those who turn to me in repentance. So al-walid lahu haqq when kana kafiran. So your parent, your father or your mother, has a right over you, even if that parent may be a kafir. لكن لا تحبه المحبة القلبية. But you don't love them with a love that's qalbiyah. Qalbiyah here means with the same kind of love you love the Muslims with, right? With the same type of love you love the Muslims with. But rather tukafi'ahu ala tarbiyatihi lak. But you are recompensing his goodness for their tarbiyah and their raising and cultivation of you. And this goes back to what we mentioned yesterday, that natural love that a person is going to have for his parent. A natural love that a person will have for their parent or for their wife, if your wife is a Christian or Jew, and the likes of that. The natural love a person will have in this situation is that what you have for them. And that is from that bab, the bab of mukafa'ah, that this person has been good to you all your life, right? So likewise, you're going to naturally have an affection for them, especially if they're your parents. And the fact that it is your parent, وَلَهُ حَقْ تَكَافَعُهُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ, and he has a right that you recompense them and compensate them for that. خامسا, fifthly, تبادل التجارة معهم والشراء منهم, that it is permissible to trade with them and to buy and sell with them. You trade with them and you buy and sell with them. There's a condition here though, in terms of selling them things which you know beyond a shadow of a doubt they will use to either harm the Muslims, or you know for a fact they will use it to make shirk with Allah Azza wa Jal and the likes of this. These things, if this is the case that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're going to use this for these types of things, then it's not permissible for you to sell it to them. If you are a Muslim businessman, merchant, and the likes of this, you know that they're going to use it to harm the Muslims, or they're going to use it to make a shirk with Allah, kufr Allah, with Allah Azza wa Jal, then you can't sell it to them. Aside from this, the general business, whatever case may be, you can do business with them as long as the business you're doing is a halal business. You can do business with them. Now, and so he says, and likewise, you can buy commodities from them. You can buy weaponry from them, for a price, and there is no harm in that. وقد كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يتعامل مع الكفار. The Prophet himself would deal with the kuffar, do business with them. كذلك عامل أهل خيبر وهم يهود على أن يزرعوا الأرض بجزء مما يخرج منها. Similarly, he did business with the Jews of Khaybar. The Jews of Khaybar, when he conquered Khaybar, a part of the agreement that he made with them is that since this was the land which they knew, they cultivated, they were familiar with it, okay, you continue to do business on my land. I took it. It's my land now. But you can do business on it. You can cultivate the land for a portion in exchange for a portion of the crops that come out of it. All right? So this is an agreement that he made with them. ليس هذا من الموالاة والمحبة. This is not considered to be from having love for them, that you do business with them, or that you do trade with them, and the likes of this. It's not considered love and allegiance. وإنما هو تبادل المصالح. Rather, it is only exchange of benefit. It's mutual benefit. I benefit and you benefit. يجب أن نعرف هذه الأمور. So you must know these affairs. وأنها لا تدخل في الموالاة وليس منهيا عنها. So we must know these affairs and know that they don't enter into al-muwala, and it is not something which is prohibited. كذلك الاستدانة منهم. Likewise, taking debts with them, right? Taking debts, taking loans from them, and the likes of this. A permissible loan, obviously, we're not speaking about riba-based loans from the bank and so on and so forth. We're talking about a permissible loan, right? They may loan you something, you may mortgage something to them, and like this, right? These are permissible dealings. He says, for the Prophet alayhi wasalam, istadana min al-Yahudi ta'am, and the Prophet alayhi wasalam, he took out a debt from a Jew for some food. Right? He took out a debt from a Jew for some food, meaning he took some food from a Jew, and he was indebted, and he owed to this Jew. وَرَحَنَ دِرْعَهُ عِنْدَهُ, and he mortgaged or pawned his armor. He let the Jew take his armor as collateral for the debt that he took out with this Jew. Now, he says, وَمَاتَ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَدَرْعَهُ مَرْهُونًا عِنْدَ يَهُودِي بِطَعَامٍ اشْتَرَاهُ لِأَهْلِهِ. And so, at the time the Prophet died, alayhi salam, his armor was pawned to this Jew as collateral, which he took for a debt of some food that he bought in order to feed his family. مَلَا مَانِعَ مِنْ هَذَا. There's no harm in this. It is not prohibited. لأن هذه الأمور دنيوية ومصالح, because these affairs are dunyawi, are worldly matters, and they contain benefit. ولا تدل على المحبة والمودة في القلوب, and they don't indicate in any way whatsoever love and affection inside of one's heart. فلا بد أن نفرق بين هذا وهذا. So we must differentiate between these two affairs. There's the issue of having love for the kuffar and affection for them on the one hand, and doing business with them on the other hand. Now, he says we must differentiate between them. لأن بعض الناس إذا سمع نصوص العداوة الكفار وعدم محبتهم قد يفهم أنه لا يتعامل معهم. Some of the people are such that once they hear these texts of adawa and enmity for the kuffar and not having love for them, then they will believe and think from that, or understand from that it's not permissible to deal with them on any level. You can't deal with them on any level whatsoever. وَلَا يَتَّصِلْ بِهِمْ نِهَائِيًا, and that we don't have any connection with them just in an absolute way. Right? We don't have any interaction or dealing with them in any way. وَأَن تَكُونَ مُقَاطِعَةً نِهَائِيًا, and that our cutting off of them it is absolute. لا, he says هذا محدد بأحكام وبحدود وشروط. Rather, he says no, this is something which is demarcated and defined by way of legislative rulings and by way of set limits and conditions that are well known with the people of knowledge. مأخوذة من كتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم, and they are extracted from the book of Allah and the Sunnah. The sixth issue, the sixth exception to the general rule of adawah for the kuffar, about Allah at-tazawwuj min nisa ahl kitab, that Allah has allowed and permitted marriage to the women from the people of the book, with the condition though, with the condition that they are afifat, they are chaste, fi aradihin, and they are chaste in terms of their honor, and this chastity, it is indicative of the fact that they don't take boyfriends. They don't take boyfriends. The kuffar women that take boyfriends and are not permissible for a Muslim man to marry, right? And chastity, as Sheikh bin Baz, he mentioned, it is not that she is necessarily a virgin, but if she has been intimate before in the past, it's been with somebody she was married to. If she has intimacy outside of wedlock, then it is not permissible for the Muslim man to marry her. She's not chaste in this case. Now, so she must be chaste. وَأَبَاهَ اللَّهُ لَنَا أَكْلَ ذَبَائِحِهِمْ, and Allah has also allowed us to eat their meats. Yes, Allah has allowed us to eat the slaughtered animals from the people of the book. Now we can eat their meats and we can marry their women with the conditions. However, as it relates to this issue, we advise marriage to the Muslim women. We advise marriage to the Muslim women. As there are many Muslim women, good sisters who are looking for righteous and upright husbands. Unfortunately, you find many Muslim men rushing to these kuffar women. They don't want nothing more than some kafir Instagram women or the likes of that. Right? So we advise with marriage to the Muslim women. Marry our sisters, inshallah ta'ala. Now, سابعا, seventh, لا بأس بإجابة دعوتهم. There is no harm in accepting their invitations. If the non-Muslims invite you to some gathering that is a permissible gathering wherein there's nothing haram going on, then you can accept their invitation. You can accept their invitation. They invite you to some graduation gathering. No harm in that. There's nothing religious connected to a graduation gathering. You can go to the graduation provided that there's nothing haram going on. No intermingling, no music, no alcohol, nothing sinful going on. Just a graduation gathering and the likes of this. You can go. Now, this is much by way of example, not by way of restriction. Something which has no religious connotation whatsoever. Nothing religious going on. It's not some type of celebration that is haram, a birthday and holiday celebration. None of that is going on. It's a run-of-the-mill, just general type of gathering, even if it's for an event. Maybe someone is retiring. Maybe your uncle is retiring, or whatever the case may be. He had 30 years at his job and he's retiring. He invites you and your family or whatever the case may be to the gathering. You can go as long as there's nothing haram going on, right? And haram either religiously or in some other type of way. All right, you can accept their invitation or just for dinner. All right, they may invite you to dinner and say, hey, I know you don't eat pork, whatever. Come into my house. We have a barbecue, whatever the case may be. Nothing going on that's inappropriate, that you can go. And you can eat their food. You can eat their permissible foods. You can eat their permissible foods as the Prophet ﷺ would do. As he ﷺ would do. ثامنا, eighth, الإحسان إلى الجيران من الكفار. Being good to your neighbors. Being good to your non-Muslim neighbors. All right, your non-Muslim neighbors, you can be good to them. You can be kind to them. You can help, the old lady next door with her trash and the likes of this. You can be good to your non-Muslim neighbors, even looking out for them in terms of food and the likes of that. Now, because they have the right of being a neighbor. They have the right of being a neighbor. تاسعا, ninth, and is in relation to the neighbor and being good to your neighbor, this can be a means of da'wah. It can be a means of da'wah that you are good to your neighbors, that you are respectful to them. You look out for their affairs, look out for their house and the likes of this. This can be an excellent means of da'wah for them. Now, ninthly and finally, لا يجوز ظلمهم. It's not permissible to oppress them. You cannot oppress or wrong them in any kind of way. And from wronging the kuffar, all right, from wronging the kuffar, for example, especially your kafir neighbor, going back to that, parking in front of their house. Parking in front of their house, and thus it's a place where they would normally park at, and you say, well, it's an open street. All right? No, this harms the neighbor. It harms the neighbor. Now, looking inside of their house. You may walk by and their door is open, and you look over there, and you can see clean inside of their house. This is something which is considered to be harm to the neighbor. It's harmful to your neighbor. It's impermissible to do. Now, but this is general though. Here at this point, harming the disbelievers, oppressing of the disbelievers in any way is not permissible because dhulm is impermissible. Oppression is impermissible. Period. Now, Allah Ta'ala said inside of His book, وَلَا يُجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا. Do not allow the enmity of other people keep you from being just. Keep you from being just. اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى. Rather be just in all instances, as this is closer to the taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, so the Muslim is not one who is unjust. Aslan, we don't just say, oh, he's a kafir, I can take his property. He's a kafir, I can do whatever in relation to his money. I don't got to pay him what I owe him, and the likes of this. No, we pay our debts. We are merciful to the people. We don't let the fact that they're kuffar or the fact that they may have done wrong on another instance lead us to oppression and wrongdoing. These are some of the exceptions to that general rule of having enmity for the kuffar. We stop here, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala, and we pick up from the third risala, that is the definition of al-Hanifiyya, in the next sitting, inshallah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.